Okay, guys, thank you for joining us today. We are going to be starting, hopefully, a series on Materia, Medica, Pura by Hahnemann, because there are so many things to learn from here, from this book. It's very important, and it is just absolutely full of interesting things. Before homeopathy, before Hahnemann got his idea of does cinchona cure fever because it's bitter, or is there something else about cinchona? He has that question. And there's been a long history of the quote unquote, medicinal effects of various substances that have been known since forever. And they're based on all different kinds of things, all different types of histories and presumed qualities and historical mentions. And, some of these things are not true and some of these things are true. For example, the doctrine of signatures is only true to a certain degree. Sometimes that only has things to do with, like, maybe there's a certain vitamin in a plant. So, Hahnemann set out to find out what are the true symptoms that will be cured in a substance. So he had people do provings. He himself did provings, his family, his children, his friends. There's the Provers Guild. And in that way, when we do a proving, we know what exactly a substance is capable of curing. We get the peculiar qualities that will affect a healthy person with a substance that can then be recorded. And we know that those are the symptoms that are curable with that medicine. So when a patient has a set of symptoms, Hahnemann calls it a possible aggregate of symptoms, because each person, when they have an acute disease, has, a little bit of, has this symptom, that symptom, this symptom, that symptom. And these are what are known as possible aggregates. And aggregates are components. So there are little bits and components of each disease that we have to accurately take down ourselves and then find the most comparable, the most similar proven medicine in order to cure that disease. Right, guys? Fundamental, like cures like. And when we're dealing with proving data, we are dealing with pure facts. There's no speculation. These are the facts that people have experienced. And when Hahnemann mentions healthy people, he's not saying, I've heard many people say that we can't do provings today because nobody's healthy enough. You have something to say?
Yeah, I would like to ask before you continue further that does anybody knows what is the origin of Materia Medica Pura? Origin.
Hahnemann's proving data.
No, origin means how it's been developed. Tikva begin very nicely from early 1790s, right? When Hahnemann was translating that Cullen's Materia Medica and found that cinchona bark was the remedy which was producing the symptom just like an malarial fever, right? And then he knew a lot of medicine, those having uh, that medicinal effects, like in allopathy or any old literature, known literature. He collected everything and he tries to prescribe on that. Before I think 1796, it was not proven. Just he took the known symptom of the drug and he used to prescribe for the patient. He made such an experiment, right?
Okay.
But then he noticed that the symptom which were mentioned earlier in the literature or pharmacopoeias were not sufficient. They were very limited, and patients were presenting in a very different ways and very large number of symptoms. So he thought that this limited totality or which is already been mentioned in the old literatures is not sufficient. Wanted to study the symptomatology of the that pharmacology of the drug. So that time he then started what we call proving drug among his families and friends and on himself, right? It was 1796, and he had 27 drugs which is well proven, and this totality of drug is much larger than the totality which were already presented in older books. And what was the name of this, Igwa? Do you remember?
Of course, Fragmenta.
Yeah. Have you anyone have listened this? Fragmenta?
A word only.
Yeah. This was a book. He proved 27 drug on himself and his family. And this 27 drug was used on law similar to treat the patient, right?
Yeah,
And
this is way back when.
for 10 years, he uh, make these experimental studies of totality of symptoms and disease, which disease the drug been acting, everything for 10 years. And in 1805, he started to what you call increase the remedies. 1805, 1805, right? And after 5 years, uh, he published the first organon, 1810.
1810.
Yeah. And in 1811, he published first Materia Medica, Pura. And same content, this fragmenta was renamed with included remedies with Materia Medica Pura. Right?
Yes. What?
भावना तू एकटीच आता हो म्हणायला, बाकी कोण म्हणणार नाही.
Okay.
कारण मी आता कोण रिस्पॉन्स फक्त तुझ्याकडलाच पाहतोय.
Yeah, so Hahnemann wanted to find out the exact qualities of what is curable in a medicine. And that is what has been accumulated in proving data. And when he talks about, having a healthy patient or a healthy person to prove the remedies, he only means normatively healthy. And when people have their own symptoms that are their usual symptoms, they're supposed to put those into brackets if they come across their own symptoms during a proving. So I've heard many people say that we can't do provings these days because there are no healthy people. But that's not really true. We really can do provings just as we were able to 200 years ago. So anything that is dubious and might belong already to somebody's chronic situation, they're just supposed to put into brackets and keep that aside. So this is okay. So we have known remedial agents, remedies, remedial, known agents. So these are all combined in the proving data, but let me regress and say, I'm gonna go to the second chapter in Materia Medica Pura with the preamble. And I'm gonna read a couple of things.
Okay, thanks. यांनी समजून घ्यायला
Many persons of my acquaintance, but half converted to homeopathy, have repeatedly begged me to publish still more exact directions as to how this doctrine may be actually applied in practice and how we are to proceed. I am astonished that after the very particular directions contained in the Organon of Medicine, more special instructions can be wished for. So Hahnemann wants to know, what's up, guys? I already told you how to find what to do with the patient in the Organon. The directions for case taking, treatment, and all that are found in the Organon. And then he's like, just follow the Organon because we have clear directions in the Organon. And then he goes on to say, I am also asked, how are we to examine the disease in each particular case? Again, he replies with, as if special enough directions were not to be found in the book just mentioned. He's like, yeah, go back to the Organon. If you don't know how to take the case, if you don't know what you're doing, let's go back to the Organon. And then he goes on to say that homeopathy is not directed towards imaginary or invented internal causes of disease, nor towards names of diseases. As every case of non-miasmic disease is a distinct individuality, independent, peculiar, a complex of symptoms always differing in nature, never hypothetically presumable, so no particular direction can be laid down to it, except that the physician, in order to effect a cure, must oppose to every aggregate of morbid symptoms in a case of a group of similar medicinal symptoms, as complete as can be met with any single known drug. So Hahnemann's saying here that we match the symptoms that we find in the patient using the directions in the Organon, and we match it up with the symptoms produced in the proving data with a particular medicine, and we need that to be as accurate as possible to contain the best coverage. So the best coverage of our symptoms that we select in the patient, especially during acute ailments, the more effectively the medicine is going to work. Okay? So we have little bits of information that we get from the patient, and we match them up with the bits of information that are available in the proving data. And proving data is pure materia medica, pure, pura. That's the Latin for pure. It is pure data. It is not expounded upon. It is not theorized.
Copied from other sources.
Hmm?
It is not copied from other sources also. It is extracted from experiments and proving.
Exactly. So there's not going to be any themes or anything like that in Materia Medica Pura. In pure Materia Medica, there is
What
data.
about toxicological findings added in Materia Medica? Is it considered as pure Materia Medica or not?
I didn't hear that properly.
In many Materia Medicas, they added toxicological findings, no, ma'am.
Oh, like in herring? Herring has a lot of toxicological information. So yes, because that is a poisoning. So it is, yeah, it can be put in there, but today we're, pretty much just doing proving data. But yes, there are toxicological things that are added and known. And yeah, I don't know how to answer that question, but yes, it does exist and it does have relevance. But it's not the same thing as somebody taking something in potency and having their record book and jotting down as the days go by each and every little thing that they feel. And it's not only what they feel emotionally, but their sensations and also accidents and befallments. So if, for example, somebody keeps tripping to the left when they're proving a substance, that goes into the proving data as a very important thing that's characteristic. So we have, so Hahnemann talks about the true spirit of the homeopathic system. And that when we have the data that is proved on people, we have a very clear picture of what needs to be done. And there's a nice case here in the preamble that we would like to share today. This gives us an example of how we use proving data to find the similum in a situation.
Should I start that?
Yeah, go ahead and start that and read the first page for us, please.
Who is going to read?
You can, that's just a very quick read.
Bhavana?
No, I don't have book.
No, read the screen.
Okay, I can do that. Case of pulsatilla in Materia Medica Pura.
And so Hahnemann gives us a very simple to solve case of pulsatilla using a few symptoms in an acute as an example. There are very, very few examples that Hahnemann has given us because he didn't want us to make specifics.
Okay.
But here we go. Here's the case of W.E.
A weakly pale man of 42 years who was constantly kept by his business at his desk complained to me on 27th December 1815 that he had been already ill 5 days. The first evening he became without manifest cause, sick and giddy, with much irritation. Second, the following night about 2 a.m., sore vomiting. Third symptom, the subsequent night, violent irritation. Fourth, 2 day, also sick irritation of fatigue and sourish taste. Fifth, he felt as if the food lay crude and undigested in his stomach. Sixth, in his head, he felt vacant, hollow, and gloomy, and as if sensitive therein. Seventh symptom, the least noise was disagreeable to him. He is of mild, soft, patient disposition.
Yeah, symptom number 5.
Symptom, he felt as if food lay crude and undigested in his stomach.
Yeah. What he is talking about is he felt. He felt means it's a sensation.
Yes, it's
Yep, so we
Correct.
have a man here with indigestion. Right, guys?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Then
Yes, let me do this.
So he's feeling dizzy with his indigestion. We saw in symptom 1. Okay, so see what he does here is he gives 7 symptoms, right? And then he says to symptom 1. That means concerning symptom 1. You know, then
what
he's
is
going to give,
what is
ahead.
symptom 1?
Yeah, what is symptom 1? Symptom 1 is
Yeah.
on any movement, especially, oh, I'm sorry, I'm on the wrong page.
No, that is not.
The
Yeah,
first evening, okay, well, I also have my book. Yeah. Go ahead.
Symptom
The
1.
first evening, come without manifest cause, sick and giddy with much irritation. Sick and giddy with much irritation.
Okay, so without
cause.
manifest cause. Without manifest cause means without reason. He doesn't know why. It just suddenly happened. And sick and giddy means dizzy in this context. So
Yeah.
he feels sick and dizzy and he's burping.
Yes.
Sick, dizzy, and burping without any
Burp.
particular cause. Okay. And then the next, there we go. Okay. And to that,
Here he explains about his how he differentiate and how he collect the symptoms. Tikwa?
yes, several medicines cause vertigo, dizziness, giddiness with nausea, as well as pulsatilla, which produces its vertigo in the evening also, a circumstance that has been observed from very few others. So here's a very interesting peculiar symptom. So symptom number 3, vertigo, like that which occurs on turning round for a long time in a circle combined with nausea. That is in the proving of pulsatilla. And then giddy, staggering, as from intoxication, with internal heat and paleness of the normally warm face, especially in the evening.
From intoxication.
Intoxicated would be like being drunk.
Especially.
And here in this case, he took that vertigo, irritations, and evening modality part. So that's why the symptom number 7 was there, right?
Yep. He's using symptom 3 and symptom 7
Yeah. Then for
in the proving data. And then we go back to the symptom of the man, number 2. The following night, approximately 2 a.m., sour vomiting. Okay, so stramonium and nux vomica cause vomiting of sour and sour smelling mucus, but as far as it is known, not at night. Valerian and cocculus cause vomiting at night, but not of sour stuff. Iron alone, that would be ferrum met, causes vomiting at night. That would now we refer to symptoms 61 and 62 in ferrum. The vomiting is before midnight, worst when she is lying, and especially when she lies on the side. And vomiting of food immediately after midnight, whereupon there follows dislike, my screen's in the way, to food and repugnance to open air. And this happened after 6 hours in the prover. So we have this and then everything she vomits is sour and acrid. Acrid is irritates. Mhm.
Symptom 66, it is about Ferrum. 61,
Yes.
62, that comparatively he studied.
Because Ferrum causes a few of the symptoms that this man has, Mr. W, who is 42 years old, has a couple of symptoms of Ferrum. Pulsatilla, however, causes not only sour vomiting in the evening, symptom number 349, and symptom number 354. And then we go down here to symptom 349. After exercise in the open air towards evening, nausea and vomiting of something salt or sour after 3 hours in the prover. Symptom 354, nocturnal vomiting with shooting, drawing pain in the back towards the scapula. Now you notice that Hahnemann is using fragments of the proving data.
Yes.
He's using fragments only to solve the case.
Yeah, he is not using the complete symptom as it is.
And that's important to know that he's using fragments. He's using the building blocks. Okay, so symptom 2, stramonium and nooks cause vomiting of sour and sour smelling mucus, but not at night. Valerian and cocculus cause vomiting at night, but not sour vomiting. Ferrum causes vomiting at night and can cause sour vomiting, but not the other symptoms of the case. So if we were to be using a keynote of Ferrum, we wouldn't solve the case properly, because there are more symptoms to this case than simply the vomiting sour at night. Pulsatilla, however, causes not only sour vomiting in the evening, symptom 349 and symptom 354, and nocturnal vomiting in general, symptom 355, but also the other symptoms of this case not found in iron, not found in ferrum. So it's important that we have all the symptoms covered as best as possible in an acute, especially. Sometimes in a chronic, we can bend that a little bit and use, a few different remedies in a row. But in this acute, this is a simple acute, and he's giving us the procedure of how to solve a case using proving data. Next slide. Nocturnal, what?
Third symptom.
Yeah, what's the third symptom, Sanjay?
You want third symptom? Okay, I need to go back like this. Subsequent night violent irritation.
So he is having violent burping,
Yeah.
severe burping, terrible burping, not just a little, but big burps, okay? And nocturnal burping is peculiar to pulsatilla. Symptom number 296 and 297. Loud irritation. And this is the prover's name. And then bitter irritation at night. So there's loud burping
Actually.
and bitter burping at night.
What is symptom number 4?
Take it back.
Today, he also has sick irritation of fetid and sourish taste. Fetid means kind of like spoiled, smells bad kind of thing. All right, symptom 4. Fetid, putrid, Symptom 259.
Fetid.
And sour eructation 301 and 302 is also peculiar to pulsatilla. So we can read these symptoms now. He has in his mouth a taste as of putrid flesh with inclination to vomit after 2 hours. After eating, a sourish taste in the mouth after 3 hours. 302, after drinking coffee, a sour acid is belched up into the mouth.
Sar is
Acid.
erupted.
Okay, symptom 5. Do anyone remember symptom 5?
Yeah. He felt as if he had the food.
Intoxication.
Symptom 5. He felt as if food laid crude and undigested in his stomach.
Okay. Yes.
Symptom 5. Okay.
To symptom 5 in the person, the sensation of indigestibility of the food in the stomach is produced by few medicines, and by none in such a perfect and striking manner as by pulsatilla. So whenever a patient says that it feels like their food just sits in their stomach and doesn't go anywhere, that is a peculiar thing in pulsatilla. Symptom number 321, 322, and 327. 321, sensation as if the stomach were deranged. Deranged means not in order, not working properly.
We have rubric disorder,
Mhm.
stomach disorder.
Symptom 322,
Disorder.
symptoms of very much deranged
Stomach acid.
subject. Are we going too fast, guys?
No.
Continue.
Symptom
Continue.
Symptom 327, sensation in the stomach as from eating too much, the food comes up again into the mouth as if it would be vomited. So we have kind of like a acid reflux kind of situation going on here, huh? The food isn't digesting and it's regurgitating, it's coming up into the mouth, but it's not coming out to be vomited. It's just coming up. Acid reflux, food isn't digesting properly. Okay.
Symptom 6.
Besides ignatia, which however cannot produce the other ailments, the same state is produced by pulsatilla. Symptoms number 39, 42, 94, and 98. Now, what was symptom 6? I got it right here. In his head, he felt vacant, hollow, gloomy.
Hollow.
Vacant, empty, and
Empty.
kind of unhappy and sad, kind of gloomy. And then, so we have in the Materia Medica Pura under pulsatilla, symptom 39, emptiness and hollowness in the head. His head felt like a lantern. Isn't that interesting? You know what a lantern is? That thing that you put like a candle in, and it's like a glass cage, right? We all
Kandil.
know what lanterns are.
Yes.
His head felt like a lantern. I bet that some modern day homeopaths could have a lot of fun with that one. But it's an empty and hollow sensation in the head. And this is compared with dullness in the head. His thoughts leave him. And dimness of vision, like a mist before the eyes, on rising from a seat and walking, which was after 24 hours. And I can't see the rest of the page. Can we read Anne? Oh, there we go. No, I'm having a little thing here. My thing keeps cropping up. Can somebody read symptom 98, please?
In the morning, on rising from
In the morning, on rising from bed, it is very dark before his eyes.
Okay, so Hahnemann tells us that these symptoms are in Ignatia, but not as well as in pulsatilla. And remember, pulsatilla coincides with the other elements of the case as well, which is very, very important. This is one of the problems with keynotes.
keynote in the
Okay, so for symptom number 7 was the least noise was disagreeable to him. He didn't like noise. That's what he means. He doesn't like noise. He's sick. He doesn't want noise.
Sensitiveness.
Sensitive to noise. He doesn't like noise. Pulsatilla produces the same state. Symptom number 995. At night, dreams full of fright and disgust. And it also causes oversensitiveness of other organs of the senses. For example, of the sight, 107. One eye or the other suffers shooting pains, almost without inflammation of the white, cannot look into the flame of a candle. He can only open the eyelids a little way. So this disagreeable noise is met with these two symptoms. Okay, pulsatilla produces the same state, and it also causes oversensitiveness of other organs of the senses, for example, of the sight. And although intolerance of noise is also met with in nux vomica, ignatia, and aconite, yet these medicines are not homeopathic to the other symptoms, and still less do they possess symptom number 8, the mild character of the disposition, which, as stated in the preface to Pulsatilla, is particularly indicative of this plant. Okay, so we have a list of symptoms here, and we want to cover these symptoms with the same medicine. We don't want to just pick and choose one or two things. We want it to be as complete as possible, and we want the coverage to be as complete as possible. So like when we're looking at a computer repertorization, when we have holes in our repertorization, that means it's not having very good coverage.
Yeah.
So
Right.
that would be the count, and it would be the coverage. And then here Sanjay has done this nice little bit of work for us with this case. And we see that pulsatilla
is on top.
it has 100 out of 10. So Sanjay took 10 rubrics to cover this case, and it ranks 100. So that ranking is helpful. And phosphorus, while it has complete coverage, which isn't just from the chronic, from proving data, but from other sources, it only ranks a 68. So the rank isn't as good, even though it covers all 10.
Yes, cover is well. There is another remedy that is Kali carb.
Mhm.
It is not serving to eructation violent and night.
And the modern repertorization gives us a little bit
Kali
more
carb.
option, but Hanuman is talking about proving data. Only the case was repertorized by him only on this symptom of Materia Medica Pura,
Yes.
proving data of pulsatilla. He didn't
And
have other
Yes.
options.
nor did he need other options. I mean, who's the grandmaster of the proving data? Okay, we know who that is. That's Hahnemann. He wrote it up. He had his people do it. He proved everything. And I bet you that if De Vera were to do this case using Boninghausen's repertory, she'll get the same, because there really isn't anything added to Boninghausen's repertory, right, De Vera?
Correct.
Let's make homeopathy great again.
Woohoo!
Yeah, so that's part of the reason why it is really a good repertory to use Boninghausen, because Boninghausen has what Hahnemann put in the proving data into a repertory for us to use as reference and for study. So don't forget that.
And nothing extra, like you you mentioned that modern homeopaths would have a heyday using head feeling empty like a lantern.
Right.
And they
Right.
could actually really, take that word that someone says and just take off with it. And then the
Ex-
case becomes only about that.
Right. And then we don't know what to do.
Exactly.
Poor man has indigestion. Let's just help him, give him some pulsatilla, sort him out. He's going to be fine. But if we start analyzing why his head feels like a lantern, we're going to get stuck and we're going to have problems. And then we're just going to be like, okay, where do we go from here? And then we're going to be lost instead of just focusing with that clarity.
And how the modern homeopathy would consider lantern as a metaphor?
How would they?
Evening aggravate, night aggravate. Even in morning, that can be used as per the modern metaphor. Morning and night. Night as a morning and morning as a night. That is very weird.
Yeah.
So we have here this lovely, he gave pulsatilla, and I'm still waiting for somebody to do the math here on the decillion. So this patient could not be cured by anything in a more easy, certain, and permanent manner than by pulsatilla. We see clearly why Hahnemann gave pulsatilla, which was homeopathic to this case. So the same symptoms that made a healthy person sick with these symptoms are the same symptoms that this man had. So pulsatilla is the most homeopathic medicine to give in this case. It was accordingly given to him immediately, but on account of his weakly and exhausted state, only a very minute dose, half a drop of the quadrillionth, was done in the evening. And that is that thing that we ran across in aconite again, according to that X. It's the X with the little like degree sign is the decillionth potency. and he had a single olefaction of a globule the size of a mustard seed. And the next day, he was free from all ailments. His digestion was restored. And a week thereafter, I was told by him he remained free from complaint and quite well. The investigation in such a slight case of disease and in the choice of the homeopathic remedy, for it is very speedily effected by the practitioner who has only a little experience in it, and who either has the symptoms of the medicine in his memory or who knows where to find them readily, but to give them writing all the reasons pro and con, which would be perceived by the mind in a few seconds, rise up, as we see, to tedious prolixity. Okay, so he says, for convenience, we require merely to jot down each symptom that the medicines can produce, and with a few letters, for example, ferrum, china, rheum, pulsatilla, bear in mind the circumstances under which they occur and have a determining influence on our choice, and proceed in the same way with the other symptoms, noting by what medicine which is excited from the list so prepared, we shall be able to perceive which among the medicines homeopathically covers the most of the symptoms present, especially the most peculiar and characteristic ones of the remedy sought for. So you see that he mentioned a few of those things were peculiar to pulsatilla. So those are very important, the ones that are in pulsatilla only, which in our modern grading would be, let's say, a grade 4 perhaps.
Morning dimness on rising in bed, morning. That is peculiar. No?
Okay, so we see how Hahnemann did this. And we learned in school how to do that by hand, right? Select the symptoms, make that like like a times table kind of chart, right? Remember, guys?
And repetization.
Yeah, you remember how we used to do this?
Yeah.
Way back in the olden days. We'd make
I
something
don't
like
think
this.
this new homeopath has done hand repetization.
No?
Anyone else?
In college days, we learn hand repetization, and in practices, directly we receive the computer softwares. Even
Right.
we don't know which repertory content, which repertory have which chapter, organ, especially any other organ or a rubric. They ask in MCQ now when we don't know.
Yeah, so that hand repertorization can clear up a case for us easily by jotting down the symptoms and which remedies have that symptom, right? I had a sample here somewhere, but I can't find it right now, so we'll have to forego that. But this is definitely one of the ways that we can solve a case, is just doing it by hand, especially when it's something like this. We have 7 things. And then we keep in mind that he has this, the disposition. We just keep that in the back of our head, and we can solve a case according to proving data. But, since nowadays we have other tools available, we live in a modern age. So even when we have, let's say, a computer repertorization like Sanjay showed us, we can then go to the proving data and check on that. And that's a very important thing to do, because that gives us surety. We can also check the authors of the rubric, which gives us a surety. And when it's a medicine that is not in Materia, Medica, Pura, or the chronic diseases, when we're looking at the antisporic remedies, we can use things like Herring's Guiding Symptoms, because we're using quite a few remedies that are newer. For example, what are some of the newer remedies that we're using on a very regular basis?
Apis and Gelsenium and others I can't think of right now, but
Yeah, there's a lot of remedies like that that we're using that we will find in Allen's keynote, Allen's encyclopedia, or I just go for the guiding symptoms. But I
What
always
happened?
like to check to make sure that the symptoms are actually from proving data and aren't just some kind of weird clinical mention somewhere. Okay, guys, what do we think?
Does anyone following? Hello?
Now, Boana's connection's a little bit unstable, and Radhika just joined. Look, we've spent almost exactly 1 hour. I think we're all set.
Yeah,
Yep.
we can continue in the next part also. Should I this switch on view?
Well, let's just ask if there's any questions real quick before we go.
Yeah.
Now, there's a million things to learn from this book. I even skipped the first chapter just to do this fun part. Okay, so are there any other questions, guys? Or are we good?
Dr. Wahab?
Nasreen?
Yes, Dr. Wahab, do you have anything to say? Okay.
Okay, Sanjay, I think we're good here. You want to sum this up?
Okay. Okay, you can add concluding note and we will conclude this session.
Well, thank you for joining us, people. And I hope you learned something about Hahnemann presenting a case and reminding us that all the answers are available in the organon.
thank you so much.
And one more thing, we have decided that we could make a series of organon aphorism, a complete series.
Great.
Okay.
So it will be fun to
So
learn.
Miss Zoom session.
Yeah.
We will start from 6th edition or 5th edition, or will come.
Oh, just 6th edition. But anyway, I also want to continue with Materia Medica Pura because, I mean, seriously, it's another book written by Hahnemann full of treats and prizes so that we can do what, Devera? Are we ready? Are we ready? Make homeopathy
Homeopathy
great again. Okay,
Yeah,
guys.
for organon, we can allot a day in a week And for Materia Medica Pura, we have another day. Right? Thank you, guys.
Yep, thank you for
Thank you.
coming.